For the 2021 Dean's Honoree from Physical Sciences, I am happy and proud to recognize Professor Albert Siryaporn for his many innovations in teaching. After the campus closed in March 2020, Professor Siryaporn had to think creatively about how to handle an important laboratory course, Physics 106W. This course involves developing data interface devices along with many other topics. But how does one teach students necessary laboratory skills without access to the lab itself? He realized it was not feasible to send individual students large pieces of equipment. However, Professor Siryaporn realized it was possible to give the students a feel for developing a hardware interface. He prepared kits for students to use at home, containing National Instruments data acquisitions cards, wires and cables, and a screwdriver that would enable students to generate voltages and measure them at home. The course took on a life of its own. Students performed weekly check-ins to demonstrate their devices in real time, explained their hardware and software issues, and gave other students feedback and advice to solve the problem. The students built LabVIEW programs that created, measured, and visualized DC and AC signals, and analyzed them using Fourier transforms, very similar to what they would have done if instruction had been held in person. Professor Siryaporn was able to achieve a high level of collaboration among students, allowing the online meetings to feel like traditional large in-person meetings. In addition, Professor Siryaporn led efforts to implement remote instruction in one of the largest service courses, Physics 3A, which has a yearly enrollment of over 1,400 students. In the summer of 2020, with the help of 2 DTEI fellows, he designed a remote Physics 3A course with creative approaches that promoted active participation of students. He incorporated physics demonstration in his lectures by recording videos. In the fall of 2020, we offered 2 sections of Physics 3A. Professor Siryaporn initiated team teaching along with his fellow instructor, allowing them both to offer consistent content to all Physics 3A students. During this previous challenging year, Professor Siryaporn taught over 600 students and received excellent teaching evaluations. He redesigned an important laboratory course, moved a large service course to remote, and has creatively helped our students with his course innovations. And for that, I honor him with this distinction.
One of my most favorite teaching moments was really watching the course come together and really watching the students take off for themselves. When we transitioned to online teaching, I was in charge of a course called Lab Skills and Scientific Writing, and this was for undergraduates. And the goal of this course is really to give the students a real-life experience in research. And so the idea is that they would come in, they would create these programs that would kind of interface with devices, allow them to take measurements. And you're seeing an example of one of these. This is written in LabVIEW. And in in-person times, what would happen is students would come in and they would sit at these benches. They would have all these different types of equipment to build circuits and then connect to programs that they would also develop. We, of course, couldn't send them all these different devices. And so my idea was to send them part of the lab home with them so that they can work on this at home. And I had sent this data acquisition device, this DAC card, that would allow them to interface. Now, I had no idea if this was going to work. There were a lot of challenges to doing this. Each person had a very different computer, and so it wasn't clear if the device was going to just even connect with their computer. Even if they could connect the device to their computer, it wasn't clear how well they could learn how to use the device on their own without having someone else around. And so this was a bit of an experiment for me. And so I approached this problem kind of research experiment style. And so students would, every single time for each course, they would kind of have a roll call. They would give us an update on their work in progress. And what was really encouraging about this experience was that students would see another's work, and then they would chime in. They would start to help each other. And so this kind of teamwork and group mentality started to emerge. And then it really took off when students were demonstrating their devices in real time, and they were taking measurements in real time. And so what we witnessed was students all across California and another student in Denmark would start acquiring data, and we'd see these graphs kind of move in real time. And that's when it really all came together. And it was really kind of encouraging to me because this was something that we always try to impart in research, which is that we teach students a basic concept. They work together to figure out how to solve a problem, and then they produce data. They actually produce results on their own in their own style. And so this was really interesting because I think it was an experience where I saw lab research come to life in a virtual format. And it was a glimpse of what I thought that research could be like in the future as global connections are made easier and it's possible to be productive in a lab setting, even if that lab setting is in a very different area, far, far away.